if we had to double our omni-channel revenue, what are the top three strategies
So I think as you're building out your own omni-channel strategy, you want to ask yourself.
or top three things that someone should keep in mind for this BFCM?
So we did have a strategy in place actually. It's late breaking. We just changed it up because we had some capabilities unlocked on Amazon, and that ended up driving a completely different outlook for what we wanted to do.
Hello, everyone. I am Sonakshi. I am the founder of Roaring Ladies of E-commerce Community. It's a dedicated community for people like us, women in e-commerce who have, began their journey, let's say, as an executive, today executive, but, started with a scratch or, a place where, it was just an entry level and then, found its route towards, becoming something, or like entrepreneur like such as me who are in their journey of getting to where such as Julie is. So super super excited to having you all today. We have Julie with us, and Julie is the vice president of omnichannel retail at Hello, with a deep background in merchandising, digital commerce, and retail strategy. She has led and scaled omnichannel initiatives for leading consumer brands, including Crocs, with a focus on marketplace expansion, team development, and channel strategy. So, super excited and warm welcome to you, Julie.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. So, maybe, Julie, we can begin with tell me more about Hello and more about yourself. What made you to become this successful today? Like, what are those, two, three couple of things that you would like to highlight from your journey? Happy to hear that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think probably like many of us on the phone, I had very humble beginnings. I did not start going to, a fancy college. I went to, I loved my college, but I didn't go to a fancy one, right? I didn't go to a business school. I didn't really have any connections in the industry, but I knew what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to work in this industry. I initially started out, always wanting to be in merchandising. I think I was just very inspired. My grandparents, a fun little anecdotal story. My grandparents owned a
Mhm.
shoe store when I was growing up, and I used to help them pick out what kids shoes they would carry in their store, just a little mom and pop. So I think it sort of got me into that buyer mindset, and I knew that that's the path that I wanted for myself, and that's what I went to school for. And I was just like, here I am. I have no idea what I'm doing, how to get started. um, for myself, I started out in stores. So if you're, holler, raise your hand if you are someone that has worked in a retail store physically, right? It's a very humbling experience, but I think an important one for anybody who's going to work in this industry. It's such a different point of view than, starting off and having like, your a white collar job, 9 to 5, right? So it gives you, I think, a unique perspective as well to go, this is what the consumer is experiencing, this is what they're looking for, and it gives you that direct touch point. It's not just, a number on a screen, which is where I kind of am today a little bit, but you get that interaction, and I think that's been my motivator ever since. I love people, really genuinely do. I love being around them, hearing their stories, and that's probably at the heart of what's really propelled my career is how can I take what I want to do, and also help other people at the same time, because at the end of the day, I think working in this phase, that's what we're trying to do, right? We're creating unique customer journeys. We're trying to unlock something special. I'm sure many of you work for companies where you're trying to offer a unique perspective with whatever your product is. Like, hey, nobody's doing what we're doing. That's what we feel at Halo Color, by the way. Nobody's doing what we're doing. We're trying to service a need in the market. And now it's just our responsibility to get in front of the consumer in the way that they like to shop, which is what omnichannel is, right? But you're trying to go, I'm not trying to fit them into the mold that I want or that I think is the best. I want to show up where they show up. And I think what's really pertinent and important for, if you're going down this omni-channel experience and starting to scale outside of your DTC, which is, I'm assuming where many of you have started, if you own your own business, is trying to figure out, like, again, what is a consumer journey and knowing how it's going to fluctuate over time, right? 20 years ago when I was getting started, which I sort of wish I hadn't said that number out loud, but that's okay. You can find it on LinkedIn, right? Uh, you know, brick and mortar was where it's at. That's the only, digital was not really much of a thing. Amazon was basically selling books still, and now we're somewhere completely different. Now, every other day I think I'm having a conversation about AI and what the digital experience is. But I think in the past few years it's even changed, right? 5 years ago, everything was like very digital first. We only want to think with this mindset, and now it's so integrated, right? The consumer journey can go up and down, and I think that's what's really important. So, kind of going back to my journey, it's sort of the same. I've been a little bit all over the map. I worked in stores. That's where I got my start. So I'm always going to have a little soft spot for, that in-store experience. I spent a lot of time in e-com and digital marketplaces, which is where consumers have migrated over time. But now it's all about, right, like shopping on social platforms, but they all talk to each other. It's all still one, you know, experience altogether. The consumer wants to show up in different ways. That might mean, you served me an ad. I happened to be poking around when I stopped off in Adulta, saw it there and decided to pick it up there. Or maybe I went home, popped onto Amazon, and then decided I have to have it within 2 days, or, the world will implode, which is probably how I shop primarily. So, it just can change, and it might be different from one day to the next for whatever's going to fit into someone's experience. Myself, working mom, right? My that changes every day, depending on whatever, is my kid wants du jour, right? So I think it's just about having that mindset, being very open. And that's what's helped me in my career too, right? Never say never. Never say no, not necessarily never say no to an opportunity, but more like never look at an opportunity and go, that's not for me, because it might be for you. You just don't realize it. When I found Halo, it was something so different. I didn't even know that this product existed in the market, and I was just kind of fascinated with it. For those who don't know, we at Halo Collar I don't even want to call it a collar because it's really like a portable fence in a collar. It's super interesting, right? It's basically, if you've seen an invisible fence, it's an invisible fence, but it's just in a collar and that's it. It can track your dog's location. You can keep them like it's containment. And then, something that we're continuing to iterate off of is it provides health metrics too. So it's now kind of becoming like a Fitbit or an Aura ring for your dog, right? So you're sitting there going like, I love my pet, like I love my kid, and that's what we want to provide, right? Is a healthy experience for your dog all the way around. Much like Omnichannel, it's not one thing; it's a multitude of things. So, and we feel like that's a unique perspective. It's not really out there in the market much. I'm sure many people don't know it exists. Discoverability is a big thing for us, as I'm sure it is for many of you. So, I think that's an exciting thing to do. I love being on the cutting edge of something. Especially if it's something that's providing a positive experience, and that's been at the heart of my journey. I think my entire career is how can I continue to focus in that direction.
This amazing, Julie, and like a major key takeaway from what you said was never say never,
Yeah, never
like
say
all
never.
the absolutely, Julie. So, when you say omni-channel, Julie, and like you said, it covers almost everything, lot of things, and everything has to talk to each other. So tell a little bit about on that, Julie, which is, for a brand, which is, let's say, a utility product, everyone knows about it. It's just a replacement to an existing technology or existing product. Omni-channel looks way different than how it looks for brands such as Hello, where it's about educating audience. Okay, this is a new technology, new product that you can literally use for your pet. So, little bit talk about that. How do you define omni-channel when it comes to a company or a brand where educating about product is also very important?
Yeah, I think it's about again putting yourself at the where the consumer is, put yourself in their shoes. So it requires that empathetic mindset to go, what are they experiencing? How are they going to find us? And why would they want to choose us over something else? So I think it's about, and you have to understand where they're shopping and how that scopes into it. How I speak to a consumer on Amazon is probably going to be different how I speak to them on TikTok versus my own D2C versus like in a store, depending, you say utility products, so let's say it's like a hard goods store, but that
Yeah.
might be versus like an outdoor retailer. Those are two completely different consumers going into those spaces. So I think it's about tailoring, personalizing that experience. And you might not have to reinvent the wheel, right? We're not talking about like, throw everything out the door, rewrite it entirely, create something unique and new. You still want to be on brand. So I would ask yourself, what is my brand message? What's my mantra? What am I really trying to do here as a brand? Am I just selling stuff and that's it? Probably not. I assume everybody has like a bit of a mission statement. So how can I fit into these different avenues, but still maintain my brand voice? And that's what's really important. You want the consumer's probably going to hit many of your touch points at some point. Might not be all in a day on that one unique journey for that moment. They might discover it one day and, like, let's say they walk into a store, they see it there, they remember it later when you serve them an ad somewhere else and decide to convert, or vice versa, right? So you want them
Yeah.
to always know who you are. And then I would just say, again, it's about tailoring to who, what makes this platform unique that you're on. We have Chewy, for example, is one of our partners, and we're also on Amazon, and they're very much in the digital space. People are probably going to find our product at the same time when they're searching for us, or searching for similar like product. But those are two completely different platforms. Chewy's a bit more like, exciting and fun, and Amazon's is, basically a mall. So how am I going to show up differently to that consumer that speaks to them for what their intent is going into that space?
Amazing, Julie. And when it comes to, marketplaces or other omni-channel, avenues as well, like what are like top three or four channels that you guys are pursuing currently from an Halo perspective?
Yeah, I think all of them. But we don't have own stores, right? So that's not something that's really going to be in our scope. But we want to show up. If you think about our product, it's doing a few different things. So it's a fence, right? So being in home improvement is an important area. Because if I think about, you're moving, you don't want to reinstall like an entire fencing system. You might not have access to one. Or the one you inherit might not be that great, and trying to figure out what's going to make sense for your dog might be difficult, right? So we know that that's a part of it, but we also know people who want to be outside, people who live in rural or suburban areas, they might have access to big open space. I live here in Colorado. It's very beautiful. I love taking advantage of it all the time and going hiking. So having something that's going to track my dog and also the collar has like a callback component that's part of the containment piece. So because it's not a shock collar, I should be very clear. It uses other systems to call the dog back. So that's important to me as well, to make sure my dog doesn't, go 30 feet beyond where I want them to be. Even though I'm in this beautiful open space and maybe it's okay for them to be, without a collar in this space, I don't want to lose them. They might see a bunny and run off. But these are two different types of consumers, right? They could all be one person as well, but they're going to show up in these spaces differently. I'm also a very big proponent of digital marketplaces. I have a background in it, but it's also where the consumer is migrating. I mean, I don't need to tell this group probably that there's plenty of data out there to tell you this is like get on Amazon if you're not. Get on it in 3P would be my suggestion for you especially if you're a newer brand. But there are so many subject matter experts out there these days that I think there are lots of talent to lean on or tools, agencies at your disposal that you can do this successfully. I think what's really important is just making sure the journey is seamless so that the consumer is getting a very similar brand experience across these different avenues. So I think as you're building out your own omni-channel strategy, you want to ask yourself like, what is my mission statement again? Who am I trying to service? And where would these consumers show up? So, and challenge yourself to think outside the box, right? To go like poke around, ask your neighbors, ask your friends and family, like if you had this, where would you where would you probably buy it? You can do a small scope if you can't like afford the data that you need, right? There are ways to do it, but I think it's important to be in these spaces. I think getting on social commerce platforms very big, of course. And they're all starting to integrate and talk to each other. And right now we're in a very interesting spot of everybody also trying to unlock their own AI. So I think also asking the right questions of like, what does that mean for me and how am I going to show up there as well? Because you want to, again, you don't want someone to be surprised by the experience. So,
Absolutely, Julie. And this, extending to this, there was a question from audience which said, can you tell us what omni-channel program has driven the most success and how did you measure it?
I think digital marketplaces probably, at least today,
Mhm.
we're still actually scaling ourselves, so moving into more brick and mortar locations is really the next step for us in the journey.
Got it.
Um, because we know that this is not a cheap product that we're selling. It's not just the collar you're purchasing, you're also purchasing an entire subscription with it because we have a subscription model that comes with the product. So, it's an emotional thing. You're spending a lot of money and that can feel very emotional, especially in today's, volatile economic situation. So we really want to be sure that, they have that opportunity to touch, feel, to pick it up. We're very digital first at the moment, but we want to move into that space so that, again, if a consumer makes that decision to go, I want to go to one of your partners, pick it up, see how it is. Maybe I get rewards with that partner and there's something else I want to unlock. Personally, I shop at Ulta in stores all the time because they have a great reward system and I'm like, I'm a diamond member. I want to get my rewards. I want to use them to get that fancy like hot tool I probably want to purchase that I've been eyeballing. So, again, and that's an important piece again to consider within your process as well is, what is the consumer looking for? They're going to want perks these days. But we have a really great agency that we work with on Amazon that creates, a good experience there. So we know a lot of discovery is going to happen, even if they don't complete the journey there and they might complete it somewhere else. It's still important to show up as a brand and show up meaningfully.
Yeah. So Julie, how does it work in Amazon? Because the product is so new, people are not aware of. So is it like a keyword-based discovery that happens, or it is more of like when someone is buying something for their pet, recommendation-based discovery is happening more for Hello?
A little bit of the former, for us, for at least for right now. I think we're trying to look at it from a full funnel approach as well, and know that, like, conversion or KPIs might not always be exactly where we want them to be. I think when we see things over indexing a certain way, we're going, maybe we have to focus less there, because now we're just getting in front of people that are inherently coming to us organically. So how can we get out of that organic space and move into, like, pushing the envelope for what we really want on Amazon's platform, which is, that they have so much traffic, right? That's a bigger consumer base than we'll ever be able to get anywhere else. So how can we get in front of the consumers who might not even know the products exist? And that's what
Yeah.
we're unlocking today.
Yeah, no, makes absolute sense. And, following to this, there was a question, how do you find relevant customers to target? Or is your target audience as big as all dog owners?
A bit of both, probably. I think right now we're a little more focused on people who are closer to what the product is. So people who are looking for, specifically this, like, GPS tracking, containment, smart tech. That's something that we've been, I think, again, as AI becomes more popular, people are looking for it integrated in their tech, which ours is. So leaning in on those capabilities. And then I think we're still figuring that out too as we go forward. Who else can we get in front of? Like the home improvement piece. We should be targeting, folks that are looking to, new movers, for example, or one that actually came up on a call I had right before this, which was new dog owners, which we can tell because they're buying things like crates and puppy pads, things along those lines. So, how do we focus on those consumers as well? They have a new dog, they need to train it. This is an ideal time for us to get in front of them and go, we have a training tool for you.
Got it. Absolutely interesting, Julie. And someone has also asked if we had to double our omni-channel revenue. I guess what they want to mean is marketplaces with less budget. What are the top three strategies you will suggest?
Yeah, I think again, I would look at what industries you want to, adhere to. So if I'll use like a, beauty company, right? Where do I really want to be? What's my price point and what's appropriate? If I'm, a beauty company, but I'm selling on average a 60 to $70 product, I don't know if Target is where I want to go, right? That might be a little too, rich for their blood, right? But if I'm more like an elf beauty where you've got more drugstore pricing. I think Elf is actually like a great example because they just basically like rebranded themselves, and they were a drugstore brand for years and now they're hugely
Oh,
popular, right? They leaned in on Amazon, used that as a major lever for them to pull. For a multitude of reasons. They've got a great pipeline to some of their other platforms as well. And I think they work really well with their in-store retailers. So look at the industries for us at Halo, for it's home improvement, it's outdoor retailers, and then of course pet specialty. That's the obvious one. I don't think I need to tell you all that. We know pet owners are going to be looking for certain things, but we want to push the envelope, right? So for me, outdoor is the next space. Whether that's a Bass Pro Cabela's that might carry something similar, or something even like a Dick's Sporting Goods, right? That might say, again, because
yeah.
it has runners and fitness tracker owners probably. I saw a great stat that was I think two-thirds of fitness tracker wearers also have a dog. So, we know that
Wow.
there's really great crossover. And that's the kind of information I would look at. So you can say, where do I want to target and why? I would look at, what is their footprint, right? Like how many stores do they have? What are their marketing capabilities? Is there crossover where you already exist somewhere else or where you want to be? Just know what those are. What's the added benefit and what can the relationship do for both partners?
Got it, Julie. Just a question here, which came to my mind was you mentioned Dick's Sporting Good, and let's say, like just next to hiking gear, we can put Halo's belt, which
That's cool.
goes hand in hand. But at the same time, let's say, if there is another brand from their perspective, they're seeing their competition doing extremely well in different omni-channel places,
Yeah.
but they also get an idea that, just for example, like Sporting Good or, something similar where none of their competition has done something like this. So should they invest on it, or should they believe the story that maybe this is not, that hasn't worked for them in past and hence they're not doing it. So they should not double down. What's your thought process in such case?
Oh, I very much, if you're someone that's reported to me before, you probably heard me say this. At the heart of what I do, I like very much can't stand when people go, I've done this before, it didn't work, I should never try it again. You might have done it, and you didn't think through all the levers to pull, so there was something left on the table. Maybe it was the timing was off, maybe you were ahead of the curve there, maybe it was the other way around, and something was going on environmentally or, within the, economic ecosystem that just it didn't make sense at the time, right? Like I think many of us probably wouldn't make some of the choices we made back during the COVID timeframe, or we learned a lot and we've capitalized on it. So I think take everything as a learning, even if it doesn't work. If a retailer were to tell me that, and we do, we have a competitor that's in a lot of these spaces already, but we're letting them know here's the benefit between us and them, right? We've actually done the research. We know that our product performs a bit better than many of our competitors. Feel free to go to our website and see all the differences. But it does. We know it's a bit more accurate. We've got our founders are just, geniuses and have done a great job integrating great engineering and, a lot of thought into the tech that's in the product. So always improving it, always making it better, and really listening to consumer engagement. And so I think when you're working with a partner, even if it's not there today, you can go, you might have tried this in the past. Here's how we're improving. And we also want to work with you and go, what is going to make this successful? How can we make this work? And find a happy medium between the two of you.
Got it. Makes a lot of sense, Julie. Thanks for that. Now, the I think the question that everyone was awaiting for is BFCM. How are you approaching BFCM this year? How is it different from the last year's strategy that you must have tried out? And also give, like couple of tips or top three things that someone should keep in mind for this BFCM.
Yes, absolutely. It's actually our strategy is completely different than it's been in the past. So part of that was so we did have a strategy in place actually. It's late breaking. We just changed it up because we had some capabilities unlocked on Amazon, and that ended up driving a completely different outlook for what we wanted to do. It was important to make sure we could align across our partners. We don't want to do something in one space that's going to be at a detriment to the other. We always want to be seamless with pricing or what the consumer journey is going to be. So that was step one. And then making sure it made sense for us from a margin standpoint and, just in general, what the consumer journey is going to be. In past years, we were a bit stifled on certain platforms, so it held us back a bit, or inventory was actually a major player in decision making. Actually, if I can give everybody a tip, one of the first things you should do is make sure you got your supply chain and your planning process in place. It will do you wonders. You'd be surprised. Don't consider that an afterthought. That should be right at the front as you start your business. But that really made an impact for us. Now we have, more tools at our disposal basically to lean on, and we have the inventory to sell essentially. So we're able to pull these additional levers. So we have a lead into Black Friday. So we have one discount running basically up to. We'll be running a special discount for specifically those 4 days, Black Friday through Cyber Monday. And then we have a bit of a lead out as we go through December because we also know that, getting things fast and in time for Christmas is really important. So we want to be at the forefront of that. Part of our supply chain cleanup this year, so we brought in, DC in the States so that we were able to distribute much quicker. So we can now match basically Prime Day shipping. So consumers
Oh,
can get that on D2C and on Amazon, get it in time for Christmas, and then we'll still have an offer available for them. It won't be as high as it is during those peak promotional times, because we do want to capitalize on that foot traffic you just can't beat. And when I say foot, I mean like online digital traffic. But both, right? We know people are out and about, they're shopping, they're looking for deals right now, or they're looking for the benefit of the deal, right? So if we can offer that to them in the capacity that we want to, hopefully we can get in front of them, create a meaningful experience, and sell some more collars and, create a safer environment for those pets.
amazing, Julie.
Yeah,
Thanks so much for
of
sharing
course.
that. Guys, if you have any further questions, so we'll move on to our last and my favorite question in this session. But before that, to everyone here, if you have any further question, you can ask Julie in our community, in the Slack community. She's available there, and she'll be more than happy to answer the questions that you guys have. So yeah, our last and my favorite question, Julie, what's that one piece of advice that you would like to give to all these young women that have joined us today?
Yes. I think being a lady in business, whatever industry that may be, we're all in retail, of course. It's not always easy. I think even though, sometimes we're a bit beholden to things that have happened in the past. I mentioned earlier in the call that like I entered this space with not a connection to be seen, nothing's special or fancy about myself, but continuing to believe in myself was really what motivated me the whole time. I knew I was smart enough. I knew I was capable. So don't let, what's happening around you, whatever that may be, we're in a time when layoffs are happening left and right. Don't let that affect, how you view yourself and the way you believe in yourself. I've had feedback that's been, sometimes it's not always the friendliest, right? But so I noticed, I could start to discern the difference between, what's really for me and maybe what's being driven by a leader with a certain point of view or a bit more ego driven and not letting that hold me back essentially. So don't let it doubt you. Don't let the layoff doubt, hold you back. If you have an idea and it gets shot down in a meeting, that doesn't mean it was a bad idea. It just might be that this was not the right group of people or this isn't your space. So I think, believing yourself enough to recognize like I have the skill set, I have the capability, know where your blind spots are. So if there is something you need to work on to go, okay, I can like humble myself and understand that, but never let that like stop your progress essentially. Because if if you were to ask probably this group of people, even just on this call, you probably hear a myriad of stories of ways that they might have been suppressed or held back within their careers. So, you know, know that you're not alone. And just, like I said, continue to believe in yourself and definitely find the right folks that are going to motivate you. If it's not lifting you up, it's not meant for you. Let that go and find the right folks, is all I can say. One of them's here on the call,
Absolutely.
actually, for me. I'm like, hello, Jen.
And absolutely, Julie. And, we as, this group of people, whenever there is, and I feel in women, imposter syndrome is very, very common. We
Big.
tend to feel. So, as a group of people, we are together. For anyone who's hearing out today, just, never feel that you're alone. We are there. If you are
Yeah.
going through a challenge, just put it in the group in Slack, and there will be someone who's helping you out. So,
There's
just,
always someone for all the people, for five people that were going to demotivate you or might have their own personal agenda, there's going to be that one star who's there to like push you forward. I'm grateful for the ones in my life who, some of whom I haven't worked with in over 10 years, right? But they're still there, still motivating me, believing in my career just as much as I believe in them. And so, find your crowd, find your community. And we have a great one here, so it's perfect.
Yeah, absolutely, Julie. Thank you so much for taking out time today. This session, guys, was sponsored by Manifest. It's an AI shopping assistant for Shopify brands and beyond. So, if anyone wants to reach out to them, you can do that. But thank you so much for joining in today, Julie. Thank you, everyone. Stay tuned. Every month we do such session with one very, super successful executive from e-commerce ecosystem. It was Julie this time. We'll also ship out recording and certain blogs around the content that we generated today, and happy to have you back again next month. Thank you so much. Bye,
Thank
Julie.
you. Bye, guys.